Hey, this is Scott Seiler with Austin Home Restorations, and today I'm going to show you how to bed and glaze a historic window. So I've got John on the camera today, and you ready, John?
I'm ready.
All right. So we've taken our paint, we've already stripped this window down, primed everything with an oil-based primer and sanded it so it's nice and smooth. We got our the old glass out, and now we're ready to bed it. This is our, we use Sarco Type M, or you can use dual glaze window glazing. It's a linseed oil putty. And so right here you can see you got your rabbit, which is cleaned out, primed and sanded. So we're just going to take some of this, push it along in here. You want to fill the rabbit up with the glazing putty, like so. Just get in there. It doesn't have to be pretty. It's all going to get pushed out anyway when you put the glass in. And it's important to bed the window in the glazing putty before you put the glass in, because otherwise you're going to have condensation problems on the inside of the window. This helps to keep the window airtight, and just gives it a little cushion to sit on too. I've seen some old houses where there's no bedding and a big truck drives by the street and you hear the windows rattle in their cases. So this makes it much easier to deal with all that. So alright, you just want to make sure that there is glazing putty everywhere. You don't have any white spots or any bare spots. Wipe your hands off a little bit, and then you set your window pane in here. Gonna rest in there. Be careful, it's thin glass, and you want to push it down evenly throughout, especially in the corners, sides, just everywhere. And leave just a thin bit of glazing there, and pray that you're not breaking the pane. Alright, once it's bedded in there, you're going to take these are your glazing points. We use the small 3/8 inch diamonds. They're much easier to hide behind your glazing when you end up glazing. You can have a gun to put these, but we just use a hand tool. And basically you just want to very gingerly press them into your muntins and into the rails and stiles, depending on where your glass is. You need one per side, that's it, unless it's an unusually large window, where you might need 2 or 3. Usually if it's more than a foot on either side, like if this length were more than a foot, we do 2. But for something as small as this 6 light window, we're just going to do 1 on each side. And you want to be careful, if you can show this, John. There's a glazing point over here. We've already glazed these. You want to be careful you don't line the 2 up, because they'll push right through on these muntins, so you kind of have to space them properly so that they don't hit each other. And be really careful. This is the easiest place to break the glass. Alright, once you're in, you're going to come around to the other side. Take your putty knife, or this is what I use, called a glazer's tool. You got something on one side to use to make your corners a little cleaner if you want, or this side. I just come through here on the inside of the window, and you clear off the excess glazing putty. Now you need to do this so that when you're glazing you can see exactly where you're glazing at. Make it nice and clean. Alright. Alright. Clean up the glazing putty underneath. Now you are ready to glaze. Your window is bedded. It's set in there. It's cushy. Now you're gonna ball up this linseed oil putty. And the same thing, you can do it by hand, or you can take your knife, and you just want to get it on here. Again, it doesn't have to be pretty. It just needs to be pushed into the glass and the wood. It needs to be enough all the way around. Some people like to ball this up into like a snake, like you would with flour. I don't know, I'm not a baker. But you can do that, or you can just push it in like this. I find this is a little bit faster. Used to make it into a snake and then, you know, like a rope. I'll show you what some people do. Make a rope and then just kind of push it in like this. You can do that. Whatever you want to do to get it in there. You just want to make sure that it's pushed up against the wood and against the glass, and that there's enough in there to glaze. Alright. Then this is the part that's always seems a little daunting for people, trying to get a good clean line here. When you glaze, you can show this pane real quick right here, John. You can see on the inside, you can see this is where the inside rabbit ends. See the difference? You can see through there and then it stops there. Your glazing needs to come just like a 1/16 of an inch inside of this line. So that way when you paint, and the paint should overlap your glazing, that way when you paint, the paint will go over the glazing and you won't see it from the inside. From the inside of the window you should be able to look out and see nothing but glass. You won't see any paint lines or the backside of any of the glazing. So when you come in through here, you take your glazing or your putty knife, you come in here, push it up against there, get yourself a nice clean line. Honestly, you want to go as tight as you can without hitting those glazing points. You want to make sure those glazing points have been buried in there. And then you come through here and you clean off the excess. And you want to look at it. I went a little bit too much putty, so I'm going to come back one more time, clean it up, trim it down just a little bit. And take the excess off again. There's that side, and then you can always just smooth it out a little bit. So the first one's easy to do. Keep going around the corners. So here on the second side, smooth this out, trim the excess off. And you can tool this as much as you want. It's really, the challenge here is when you get to the corners now. You've got two edges that weren't quite clean. I'm going to take some of this excess off because I don't need it. And then I'm going to come in and try and get a nice, clean 90-degree corner. And that's what you really want to, that's the mark of somebody who has glazed and somebody who hasn't glazed, or somebody who's just doing a quick job and doesn't really care. And you'll see some of these little specks here, little nerds from the glazing putty. They're not too big a deal to leave right now. You can come back. You're going to have to wait for all this to skin over about 2 weeks. And once it's skinned over, you can come back with a brush. You just use a little chip brush, or you can use a wallpaper brush. It's a little softer. And you come through and brush it off. The little nerds will fall off. And then you're ready to paint. All right. Hope that helped you. You can visit us at craftsmanblog.com. Find out more stuff like this. Thanks.